Great. Thank you, John.
Welcome.
So excited to be here at this Inform Your Community event and this great discussion we're going to have about Just Eat It, a food waste movie. We had Jenny Rustemeyer here about a month or so ago, and the video of that discussion that we had on our website. You can go to www.informyourcommunity.org/getinformed, and you'll see our food waste link. And if you go to that page called Food Waste, you'll be able to see some information on there about that topic, as well as the link to the video of Jenny Rustemeyer. Jenny Rustemeyer is the producer of the movie you just watched, and the female lead who you got to see. So really invaluable to hear her discuss the making of the movie and her experiences with it. So we want to move right along, frankly. So I have some questions to ask. I want to know how you're doing. I want to know what you thought of it. So, but first, I want to know what made you folks even want to come to this movie. Does anybody want to tell us? You know, unmute yourself, go on ahead, and let us know why you came to the movie. And by all means, you can enter your questions while you're thinking about that question. You can enter any questions you have in the chat that you'd like to hear other people talk about. So it's not really a kind of centralized discussion here. We're all going to be talking. So I want to hear from you all. So why did you folks come to this event?
I can't even say how I found out about it. I just put it in my calendar and the alarm went off today and I was like, oh, okay, I have that. But I think the topic just interested me, especially over this pandemic. You know, it's been just a whole nother experience being more mindful about how we use food. And while watching the film, I was just like, it just reminded me of my childhood growing up years with my grandmother and my parents. My grandmother was born in 1894. That's like a whole different world, you know? And my parents were born like around the time of the Great Depression, and they were teenagers during World War II when food was being rationed. So their perspective about handling food, how to, you know, when they talked about the grandfather who used the tea bag over and over, and I was like, that was my parents. Like, why are you going to get another tea bag? Just use this one. And they would give me theirs, you know, and I was like, oh my gosh, these people are crazy, you know? But I find myself, you know, just as, you know, I always tell my friends, well, you know, my parents were Great Depression babies, and it just was reflected in their everyday life. I was a child of a Great Depression baby, and, you know, like certain things that I do, I recognized in the film, you know, that I learned from my parents, you know?
Absolutely, absolutely. Does somebody else want, I mean, it's great insight, and thank you for sharing the story about your own grandparents, and you know, to think that was so long ago, but and here we are now, wasting all this food, and this call to return to that lifestyle where we use it more. And the gentleman in the film who is just learning to cook the food that he has in his refrigerator really caught me particularly. Anybody else want to share why they were attracted to a film on this topic? Maybe we'll take one more and then move on to another question.
Hi, my name's Joel. Yeah. I'm actually CEO of Hunger Free America. We're a nationwide and U.S. anti-hunger advocacy and direct service group. I've been in this job 20 years, and I'm interested in both how people overlook food waste, but also sometimes they exaggerate the ability to end hunger for 37 million Americans by just reducing food waste. And by the way, I was previously the chief federal official in charge of reducing food waste for the U.S. Department of Agriculture. And that food waste hierarchy mentioned in the film is something I helped create with the EPA when I was in the federal government. So I was very curious to see how the film would handle all this. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Joel. That's fantastic experience you bring to the table here. We'll hope we'll hear from you again in the conversation, and congratulations on your nonprofit being around for so long. We hope we will be too. So I thought I heard somebody else want to say something as well. So
Yeah, I volunteer with Jersey Shore Food Not Bombs. Food Not Bombs is an international organization that started in the 1980s, and the Jersey Shore chapter was founded about 8 years ago. And twice a week, we pick up excess food from local health food stores, local farmers, a couple of bagel shops, and we share it with the public. No restrictions, no ID, no paperwork necessary. You know, regardless of income, anyone can come and get free food.
And what was the name of your organization again? And then Joel, tell us, actually, if you guys put your organizations in the chat for us as well.
Yeah, Food Not Bombs, and I'm with the Jersey Shore chapter in New Jersey.
That's great. Thank you for joining us today. So we watched this movie. What was the most, what stuck out at you the most in this movie? For those of you out there.
I was infuriated by how much food is being wasted, you know, at the farm itself. And then, you know, like at the supermarket, and it's just like, they just shrug their shoulders like it's, you know, so what, you know? And I'm thinking about all these people that are actually hungry out here, you know, that could use that food. Or we could just send it overseas where somebody needs that food. And, you know, it's disgraceful.
It's amazing seeing it at so many levels in this kind of food chain, from the farm to the factory to, you know, our own homes, restaurants, and so forth. Absolutely.
There's a store. It's called uglyfood.com or something, and you can buy it cheaper. And you know, if the grocery stores would say something like, "This is ugly, we'll sell it to you cheaper," right, you know, then I might be willing to buy it because it's expensive. Food is expensive. So, you know, and food, and actually, I have been to the supermarket where I've looked at the date of something, and already the spinach looks wilted and disgusting. So I'm just like, you know, it just looks bad already to me. I mean, oh.
And you're paying full price for it on top of it.
Right.
Yeah, I think there's another organization called Misfits Markets is another organization. And yeah, if anybody knows of any other organizations that help either, you know, selling that kind of food, or any nonprofits that you're aware of that work in this area, feel free to throw it in the chat so everybody can see those. Who else? What struck you? What scenes struck you the most? For me, I can say the one that always struck me, and I put it in the chat during the thing, was during the screening, was seeing all the food in the cabinets, and all of it beautiful, brand new in boxes. And I think that that's more food than I have in my closets right now. So what about you folks? What scenes struck out to you the most?
That bin of hummus. And I don't even like hummus. I was just so struck by that. I was like, what? How could they even just throw so much away at one time and not feel there's something wrong here, you know?
One of the things that really hit me was just the number of different mindsets that are just so powerful. Like, I cannot get my kids to eat anything the day it's on the sell-by date. And that just comes from, you know, some fears that, you know, their mom has put in them. But then one of the other ones for me is, you know, you eat what's on your plate. And as our serving sizes have gotten bigger, I mean, that's become an extremely unhealthy thing for myself personally, and trying to balance, you know, the not wasting the food, but then finish your plate. Like, I still struggle with how to do those two. And there's probably others, but then we have others to chat about.
Well, when I go out for dinner, if I haven't finished it, I'll take it home with me.
How do you not finish it though? Because I can't do that.
You get full.
It goes in no matter how full I am.
That's another issue.
Maybe you should just try, like when the plate comes, dividing it in half and asking the server to bag up the half for you, and then you finish everything on your plate, take the other half home, put it in the freezer, and you have a meal.
That's a great suggestion.
I've done that rarely, but when I have, it's been very successful.
Yeah, that's a great suggestion. While we're on that topic of suggestions, what do you all, what do you folks do for conserving your own food, saving your own food? Any tips that you can offer?
Freezing
food, sure.
Mm-hmm.
And some other folks out there. What else? And please, and feel free to put them in the chat as well. John will tell me if there's anything interesting in the chat.
So someone just told us the other day that they would actually a coworker in the company that said if you stick avocados in water, they'll actually live longer. Once at a time.
I did not know that. I heard that recently as well, and I did not know that. That's great. I think they'll actually stay months that way, is what I've heard. So that's a good tip.
I recently found out that if you put strawberries unwashed in a mason jar with like a paper towel at the bottom to absorb any moisture, and put the lid on it, put it in the fridge, it preserves those strawberries for like the longest time. And I tried it twice already, and I'm like stunned. How did I not know this? Because usually with strawberries, before you can eat them all, some of them have started to go bad.
Yeah, that's a great tip.
Learning how to store.
Yeah,
food.
go ahead, Dawn.
I heard someone once say that.
Go ahead, Terry, and then Dawn. Go ahead.
Oh, I heard someone once say, keep them poor, but that's what inform your community is about. You don't want to keep the information to yourself.
There you go. Exactly. Dawn, were you going to add something?
I was just going to add is that proper food storage is a key to learning how to do that. And a lot of people just don't know what you can combine in certain drawers in the fridge, for instance, and what you shouldn't combine. And then also menu planning. Actually, prior in my work, I've worked a lot on hunger issues and nutrition programs. I was formerly in Sacramento, California, and worked with the Sacramento Hunger Coalition for over 14 years on various hunger issues, and developed programs around teaching people how to do that, to save money and to reduce food waste, because those are also combined, realizing that when you throw food out, you're throwing money out too. And so that's also an important factor, but then the impact on climate change as well.
Absolutely.
And I just have to ask, I know there's an onion rule about onion in the refrigerator. There's some foods you can't put near onions. Anybody know what those are offhand?
I don't know. I stick them in there with everything else.
I thought there was an onion rule. Okay, if anybody knows, throw it in the chat.
I'm no vampire, but I heard if you step on garlic, you could taste it after a while.
Oh. Okay.
I don't think so.
So feel free to put more tips in the chat. I'm curious, did this movie resonate with your experience? Or, some of you certainly are advocates on the food waste end of things. I haven't always been, I've been very frankly bad with food waste. I actually was in the supermarket recently looking at strawberries and kind of inspecting them to see if even one of them was bad. I didn't want it. And I thought, I hope nobody's recording me. They're going to blackmail me with doing that right before I'm about to have this movie event. So I haven't been the best with my own food waste, but I am trying. What about other folks in this discussion? Did this movie resonate with you, and how, as far as your own experiences?
I'd love to jump in. Just the thing about the movie that really resonated with me, besides the mission and the outcome is the visuals that the movie like exposed. I mean, they were so beautiful. This was well filmed, high content, high quality content movie. And the visuals of like the differences between the greens in the fields and the actually the covering from like winter to spring, it's just the changes, you know, they're so strong. But that imagery was really impactful. And it's just, you know, a testament to like the whole thing, the difference between the concrete jungle and people like living in the city and living in the, you know, the boroughs, the suburbs and everything. But I mean, but that food that, the same thing happens at work. I see the oranges that come in and they're there. And I think they're making a deliberate attempt. They have the navel oranges and there's a hole and it looks like there's two oranges, like they were twins or something, you know, born together and everything. And I am just saying, you know what, they do taste the same. So like, you know, what is it? I mean, but the thing is, if you were taking pictures of them, you would want to take pictures of the perfect fruits. But then again, taking pictures of the other ones exposes like a non-bias, the whole not judge a cover book by its cover and everything as well, because what I say, a rose by any other name, you know, it's just like things are just as sweet, you know. I'm not talking about roses, but I mean, so just knowing that there's such beauty out there, even in the food itself.
Sure. Yeah. So at so many points, I mean, that whole idea of the photography that they were doing, not only the videography they were doing for the film itself, but the photography shoot. What a scene that was to see them, you know, and then they throw away everything afterwards because it was never meant to be eaten. It was only there to be photographed. What else? Other folks, did it resonate with your experiences?
I see Joel has his hand raised.
Yeah.
Joel.
Sure.
So unfortunately, due to a technical problem, I missed the first 20 or so minutes. Did the beginning of the film go into the role of large-scale food banks and food rescue groups at all, and the Feeding America network?
I don't believe it did. I think it started on a more kind of
okay. Well, my first reaction is that, you know, I thought the film was really important, but that's a pretty big omission.
Yeah.
That, you know, most large-scale supermarkets and retailers do actually donate to food banks. So you're focusing on sort of the outliers, which might be outrageous. So according to Feeding America, you know, the food bank network of 200 food banks, they're one of the largest, you know, charities in America. They provided, you know, 688 million meals provided by manufacturers and 1.7 billion meals provided by food retailers. And I would say, in general, my view, having worked on this for a few decades, is reducing food waste is a really, really, really important thing to do for the environment, but would have negligible impact on reducing hunger in America. And it's really important to make that point. There's no substitute for raising wages, making healthcare and housing affordable, and having a significant safety net. And I understand, you know, I've been involved with movie making, lots of documentaries. It's hard in a documentary to say this should be a public policy treatise, but sort of the conflating of household food waste with caterer and retailer food waste and farm and ranch food waste is sort of problematic, frankly. Household food waste, you know, we all get moralistic about it, but that would, you know, reducing that would do absolutely nothing to reduce hunger in America. Retailer food waste is still relatively little because much of it's being donated. And the farm, you know, and dairy and rancher food waste really doesn't need just volunteer gleaning groups. And I've funded, you know, and staffed volunteer gleaning groups. I know them well, but you really need systematic ways to change food processing in America. So again, this is a movie. It's trying to be entertaining and go to a general interest, you know, public. But I just always worry that we give the impression, well, if we just, you know, kept our broccoli one more day, there wouldn't be hunger. The hunger in America is not a food distribution issue. It's an inequality of wealth issue that people just can't afford to have enough food. So that's the point I'd just make.
Well said.
Yeah, I think you made a lot of people feel much better now about the food that they wasted this past week. They don't have to feel as guilty about it as they might have otherwise felt. Other folks, what did you relate to or resonate with you in the film? And then also you can start discussing what's the weirdest or funniest or saddest thing that you've ever seen with food waste. I think when we did the event with Jenny Westermeyer, I mentioned I think there was somebody on that mentioned they used to walk by a restaurant And there was one day a week they would just throw out their, or maybe a certain time of day, they would throw out all of their bread that was unused. And so every day as they were walking home, they would see the bread in the dumpster. That was, and always made them very sad to see it go to waste. So what about folks out here? What have you seen in terms of food waste that caught your attention in some way?
You know, there was a local news story here in New Jersey, I think it was about a year. Someone saw a farmer at a farmer's market dumping crates and crates of vegetables into a dumpster at the end of the day. And they said, what a horrible waste. You know, why didn't this go to a food bank? But most people don't take in a huge amount of perishable food. They don't have a huge amount of refrigerator or freezer space. And so when I saw that dumpster full of hummus, you know, I'm sure a lot of people think, why didn't that go to a food bank? And it's because food banks are not set up to take in huge amounts of food that needs to be refrigerated or frozen. So that's, you know, one of the sad realities we're dealing with.
That's an excellent point. One of the things we talk about in our curriculum is, you know, the technologies that have helped us along to help us avoid food waste, and refrigerators. And the statistic we have, I believe, in our infographic we'll send out in the next day or so, is in the 1930s to the 1940s, the amount of refrigerators in households jumped from 8% to 50%. So refrigerators were like a huge help. And then shortly after that, in 1946, Tupperware was created. So there's, you know, this saving food started to be this thing, this, you know, more important thing that people were able to do because of refrigerators. But, you know, refrigerators aren't necessarily enough because they're limited in size. And like you said, food banks may not have the capacity to store perishable food. And the movie makes the point also of not over time, but the cost of employees to deal with that. So canned food, for example, can be stored a lot longer, but refrigerated food you'd have to check, and each item is going to have different expiration dates. So who's the person who's manually checking that, and then maybe still ending up throwing it out anyway down the road? So really interesting. On our end, we have a standalone freezer. We've always had, because we never have enough storage with our refrigerator. So other thoughts, and John, you have to keep me honest about time for us to end at 8. If you give me a 5-minute warning, I'd appreciate it.
Bill Edwards has his hands up.
Please.
And you have to unmute yourself, Bill.
Stacey, I want to go back to the initial question you asked. Why did I tune into the thing other than the fact you asked me to? One of my pet interests right now is about eating healthy. And healthy for me seems to be these days that you need to be eating more whole foods. And this means that meat and dairy are not healthy. And so I was a little disappointed that the film did not address that issue. Admittedly, the theme was about wasting food. So of course, wasting beef and dairy products, they shouldn't ignore that. But one of the things that I've been made aware of in the past few years is about how much more expensive it is to raise meat and dairy products in terms of the environmental impact. Again, that was my interest, and I understand the producers of the film had another goal in mind. By the way, I thought the couple that did all the dumpster diving, they were just cute as they could be. I really enjoyed them.
They're very sweet. You'll have to. Well, I haven't met him, but certainly Jenny Restmeyer is absolutely wonderful. Definitely check out the video from our last event. You'll find it very interesting. Our last event on food waste, and you bring us back to a couple of points. Somebody talked about COVID and our lifestyle changes in since then. They did, which I just wanted to bring some space to that, to say, like, that definitely changed the way people feel about these issues, of this issue of food waste. But then also, I did want to bring attention to, they did mention health in one small way that stuck out to me, which was he mentioned that he had gained weight during the process, which blew my mind, that somebody living on, essentially like supposedly food scraps actually gained weight in the 6-month period. But he did mention that part of that was possibly from the processed food. So that was kind of, I think, the closest they got to talking about health in this, unfortunately. Let me know if there's, yeah, go ahead, John.
Sorry, I see Sandy has her hand raised.
Please, thanks.
Hi, thank you so much for hosting this event. I wanted to say thank you to Joel for the work that you're doing. And I understand that this is a systematic change that's needed. And that's what organizations like yours and others are working towards. For me personally, I'm on a zero waste journey. I've spent the last year holding on to all my trash. It's in my 400 square foot apartment, and even my recycling, it gets repurposed. So it's been a lot of what they were showcasing in this documentary, which is what can you do on an individual level? And that's what I've been working through myself. And so for people that might not be in a position, or maybe their job or the field that they work in, they aren't working systematically to make this impact, right? As an individual, I appreciate documentaries like this that really hone in on what's it like if you bring it down to the minutia of just your everyday life, and how does that play in as an, I don't want to say everyday individual, but when it's not your area of expertise. So you're doing it as an individual to reduce your impact on the environment. And I have to say, for me, one of the, I found out through Constance, she's also on this chat right now. She posted in our Buy Nothing group, and she and I took trash walks this year. And so my craziest story would be, we did do trash walks. We passed by restaurants that had closed, and we did open the bags, and we ate. Constance, you can chime in here if I'm telling the story wrong, but we found cupcakes from this incredible place. Everything was completely packaged. And I respect this, how this couple did it, because they really came in with that filter of like, we look like scavengers. What do our friends think? They think we're eating, other people's scraps. And I think my filter for that has completely gone. Like, it doesn't bother me. My friends are aware that it wouldn't, be an issue for me if the store had the wrong expiration date. I would still buy it. And for certain people, there's so many layers of that spectrum. So to get a couple that was really starting this journey, and seeing all of the opinions kind of come towards them and how they felt too, like starting off and being like, I want to stop. So yeah, we ate cupcakes on the streets of New York City, and let me tell you, they were just as good if you would have bought them the hour before the store closed.
Thank you for sharing that. And thank you, Constance, for not hopefully minding that you were just outed as part of that. It's great. It's admirable that you're doing the zero waste. I think on an individual level, okay, it may not, change the world immediately, but it may not change the world ever. But I know for me, what I'm new to the food waste part of it, but I've been doing more with recycling and using reusable things. And so I don't use any tea bags anymore. I only use loose tea. We have actual cloth napkins. So we don't use fabric softener anymore. I use the wool bowls that you can get to do that same purpose. So that's been my journey doing it. And I can tell you, I feel good about it. And I think that in and of itself is a reward, that you don't feel like you're contributing to this kind of just complete wastefulness that often happens. So thank you for sharing your journey with us. That's very, very impressive. And thank you also for talking. We've had a few people talk about the systematic changes that can be made. I'm wondering, just to go back for just a minute.
Stacey.
Yeah.
Terry has his hand up, and we have about 5 minutes. So just
excellent. Okay. If I will just say this: if anybody has an idea about systematic changes, throw it in the chat so people can see maybe if there's any advocacy they can be doing, or if any new laws on the table they should be advocating for. But Terry, go ahead.
It's exactly what Joel and Sandy were saying, and now you, that was making, so I'm gonna make it short because that's exactly what I was thinking. It's just that you were saying that, well, what are they not addressing and what can be done? But the thing is, when you are personalizing it and doing a little bit, and you're, because you always start with yourself, you always put your oxygen mask on before you help the people next to you really quickly, so that you're able to sustain the help that you can provide for them. You get, associate yourself with an issue, it ends up being something that you can ping in your mind and go and attack when it needs to be addressed in whatever fashion it does. And once you have like a lead on the topic, then you realize it's something important to you. And just that little bit of information gets you down the path that makes it better overall in the world.
I love the positivity. Thank you for sharing that. Since we are winding down, does anybody else have any thoughts they wanted to share?
Well, I just wanted to say, when the male lead was having his joy in learning to cook, because I think so many of us have stopped cooking. It really hit me just from my experience during COVID. During COVID, it's scared to go out to eat. I cooked a lot more, and it's been for very different reasons than his, but it's been a lot of joy to it. So we can change.
That is a lovely sentiment. And additional thoughts? Any
just a plug, if anyone wants more information about our organization, you can go to hungerfreeamerica.org. That's hungerfreeamerica.org. We just issued a statement today condemning the governor of Texas, who wanted to keep infant formula away from migrant children.
Thank you for sharing that. And I appreciate you being here, Joel. I appreciate everyone being here. And I also want to mention City Harvest, another organization that does good work related to food waste. And I know there's a few other folks here who represent different nonprofits, and it's so wonderful to see you here. We do eventually plan to have a networking event. Our networking events involve Zoom games related to the topic that we're discussing. So we do plan on having a networking event on the food waste topic, and so I hope to see some of you there. I don't think we have it scheduled yet, but it's definitely in the future. But it's a great opportunity to just have some fun, engage in some Zoom games, scavenger hunts, and so forth on the topic of food waste. So, Bill, did you want to say something? I see your hand up.
I think that was just giving us a thumbs up.
Sorry, I'm trying to glance out of the corner of my eye. See, that's why I shouldn't try to moderate while I'm doing this as well. But so it's wonderful. Any final words from anybody before I close this out? Well, then it's a go. It's been an absolute pleasure. I want to thank you so much for joining us for this event on this very important topic of food waste. Keep in mind, this is not like a one and done type of topic. We're certainly going to be having more events on food waste. Actually, this is our third event that we've had on food waste. So we hope to see you at another event on this topic, but also please keep a lookout for our email that we're going to be sending out to all attendees. In that email, you'll get a link to the film. You'll get an infographic that we created on this topic of food waste with some important information, as well as the video of this discussion. So if you want to replay it again or share it with anyone, please do check out our website at www.informyourcommunity.org. You can look at our events tab, and you'll find, I think we have about 20 other events posted. So please check them out. At Inform Your Community, our goal is to merge important topics like this one, food waste, with fun events. And we have 6 programs that we do that with: children's crafting, adult crafting, networking event, like I mentioned, this movie event. We also have a speaker series, and we have shopping events as well. So we discuss any number of issues, and we have lots of events coming up. Our next event is on remote learning and remote working, and that's going to be actually a networking event. So if you want to engage in some fun Zoom games, come join us for that, see what our networking events are like, and get to know some folks you didn't know before. So thank you so much for joining us. Please check out the Jenny Rustemeyer speaker event on our website as well. And we look forward to seeing you at another event. Thank you, John, for facilitating. Take care, everybody. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Wonderful.
Thank you.
Have a good evening.
Thank you.
Bye, everybody. Thanks.
It's
Thanks,
great
everybody.
to watch a film again. You always learn something again when you watch it over again.
It's true. It's true. That's my second time also.
Awesome.
Take care, everybody.
Cheers.
Bye.
Thank you.